has shocking performance from Scotland, but we've got another 3 points on the league table. I don't know how we keep on getting these points from these performances. Unbelievable. Anyway, there's loads to get talking about, so let's get stuck in. This is the No Scotland No Party podcast, supported by Ball Bags, official boxers of the men's national team. Let's go.
We know we ain't no football experts, but we all feel the same about the beautiful game. The game. No Scotland, no party. Podcast for the Tartan Army.
Welcome everyone. Unfortunately, it's only me and Dave with you today. Hazel's had some connection problems at the airport. We couldn't get a video to work, and Craig's got some more work commitments. He's a very, very, very busy guy. So yeah, just me and Dave today. So Dave, at the last Belarus game, Steve Clarke described it as a very professional performance against a stubborn team, which I think it was absolutely perfect. And he called this one a head scratcher, which I think he's nailed as well. Can you pick the bones out of that game for us?
Well, I'm not sure if I can really pick the bones out, but I thought that John McGinn's tweet that he put out about 3 hours ago this afternoon summed it up really well. McGinn's first sentence is 2 jobby performances, but 6 massive points.
Yeah.
And I think that just, honestly, it just sums it up, right? And those are the 2 reactions that people had after last night. And basically almost everybody I spoke to after the game last night were in basically 3 camps: either 2 jobby performances, or 6 massive points, or a big camp who are in both, right? Who say both of the things, which is where I am as well, obviously, right? So, focus on the positive first. It is 6 massive points. We're in the playoffs. Right, we've an outside chance, perhaps, that we're going to manage to avoid defeat in Greece and beat Denmark at home, and then actually we've qualified straight through, right? So, so all that's really good, and we'd have taken that. I mean, at the start, it's obvious when the draw was made, we all thought we'd be struggling against Greece to squeeze in at the playoffs, probably, right? So we'd all have taken this at the start without doubt. And Stevie Clarke's absolutely right in one of his previous things when he said performances don't get you qualified, points get you qualified. So we agree with all of that. Having said that, Craig, obviously the performances in both games, apart from the last 30 minutes against Greece, were really disappointing. And I think there's a lot of worrying things. I think there's lots of worrying things about individual players and how they're performing at the moment, and also things about the worrying things about the system as well. In terms of Clarke's formations, some of his starting 11 choices. But also the substitutions, and maybe especially the timing of some of the substitutions.
Well, you're just talking about the formation there. I just want to say this was from the programme notes from the other night from Clarke. It would be a mistake for anyone to treat them with anything less than total respect. I'm thinking you might be wrong there. I think we should have treated them with no respect whatsoever. We should have put 2 guys up front and we should have gone for the jugular. I think that's what everyone else has done and come away with goals. Whereas if we were playing with 1 up front and 2 holding defensive players, you're not going to score a lot of goals against them with that.
I agree. I mean, so I think it's really interesting, Craig, because Clarke seems to want to surprise us all the time. Because in the away game against Denmark, where it worked really, really well, right? But I don't think many of us expected a 4-4-2 formation. We expected 4-2-3-1. We thought this is the toughest group. We'll be going in, trying to hold. Clarke will be cautious and all the rest. Instead of which, he goes with a 4-4-2, 2 strikers, Adams and Dykes, right? And then you compare with last night, where before the game, I think most of us were thinking, not that I never thought goal difference was going to be important, to be honest, right? For the, having got where we were before last night, but most of us thought this is the obvious game to go 4-4-2. Adams played, pretty reasonably well, at least against Greece, and Dykes came on and scored the goal, so he's on a high. So and also we've got both Christie and Ferguson out. So now's the moment to do 4-4-2 against a really poor Belarus team who just lost 6 goals against Denmark. Right? Instead of which, maybe just to take your point, it seemed like Belarus through the game just built in confidence, and started thinking, slightly, to play back to you what you just said. Belarus seemed to start thinking, well, they respect us, we must be quite good actually. you know, and they played more
Usually,
and more.
in this group, what's happened is there've been goals down, and it's been a lost cause for them. But they definitely saw there was a prize at the end of this, and you could see that they, and especially when they scored the goal that was disallowed, you know, that there was the subs at the side of the pitch, couldn't believe it, and they were so G'd up. Whereas against Denmark, you know, half time, they know they're out of the game.
Yeah.
But we just invited that upon ourselves.
Oh, I agree. I mean, you could, and you know, they were overjoyed at how they were playing, and you know, as you say, when they got the goal that was then disallowed, right? I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but their goalkeeper ran the length of the pitch to come and celebrate with him. I saw him, you know, when I was, you know, watching what was going on. Suddenly, the goalkeeper zoomed past me, you know, and up to celebrate.
Mm.
So, I mean, you know, you're right. They really put everything into it. And you know, they wouldn't have done that against Denmark because they weren't expecting anything against Denmark, you know?
One of the biggest issues for me is that we seem to be getting worse in this group. Clark doesn't seem to be learning from any of the matches. And, you know, we've been quite critical of all the matches so far, but nothing really seems to change. It's the same personnel all the time. And we're definitely getting worse in the group. That was the worst match. I think the last Greece one was the second worst one. We
Yeah.
started okay against Denmark. It wasn't great, although we got the point. But we're definitely getting worse.
Yeah, no, I agree. And but it's very hard to know, you know, it's hard to know why
Mhm.
we're getting worse, right? In that, you know, because, you know, like I said, I think there's some worries about individual players. The systems, you know, maybe an answer is that Clark keeps changing the system,
Yeah.
you know, and maybe that's why we're getting worse. And players are confused, you know, between the 4-4-2 and the 4-2-3-1 and so on. Maybe you know, maybe that's partly it.
So,
But as I say it doesn't sound a very convincing explanation, I admit.
yeah. So you said there was some issues with some of the players. Who would you point out there? Who are you thinking about?
Well, I think you know, I mean, Robertson's struggling, right? He's not at the same level as he was, and the easy thing to say is that, you know, defensively, right? You know, he's at fault. You feel he's at fault for their goal that did stand,
Definitely.
but he was also caught out for their goal that was disallowed. And they're slightly different, but fundamentally, both of them, the attacker gets in there in front of Robertson. And I think, you know, a couple of years ago that wouldn't have happened. His crossing also. Okay, with one thing of, you know, you've got to be fair and say, well, actually, it was his cross that led to McTominay's goal. So before I say his crossing was woeful all night or whatever, right, that did actually produce a goal. So I obviously have to recognise that. But almost every time that he was getting forward prior to that, and, you know, curling in those crosses, I don't know, you know, I just never felt anything was going to come of them.
No.
Every one. I mean,
I
basically
mean,
they were either overhit, right?
yeah.
And it ended up with Gannon Doak chasing it to try and stop it going out for throw, or the Robertson's crosses just went into the middle and were headed clear. So Robertson's the first one, I'd say.
When we played the five a couple of years ago, and we played Robertson on the left and Tierney inside,
Yeah.
it was so exciting because you had two options. They were both running up the wing. Sometimes Tierney would come outside and overlap them, and the quality of the balls into the box. They were beating players left, right, and centre.
Aye.
It's just not happening anymore. That
No.
doesn't happen anymore. You know, he's not much of a threat, Robertson, and if he is starting to make mistakes as well,
Yeah.
defensively, it is an issue. But we know that Clark's not going to get rid of him.
No, he won't.
Probably the first name in the team sheet for Clark, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so. So I think we see it the same way, right? So I'm saying it's worrying, but I agree with you. He's going to keep playing. The second one I'd pick is McTominay, who, you know, and that's because we've got such high expectations. I'm not saying he's the worst player on the park or anything stupid like that, but compared to how he was playing last season, especially for Napoli, you know, he's not doing it. It's not, you know, and maybe he's confused because Napoli have moved him out to the left side of midfield, maybe. But I'd say he's such a, you know, good, experienced professional. I'd expect him to be able to cope with that. And I'd almost argue the reverse and say, well, when he comes back into his favoured position playing for us in the, you know, the number 10 position in the middle, bursting through to score, you'd think he'd be great. But somehow it's not working properly.
No,
You know?
it's a mystery too. And even he came out, you know, at the end of the game and was critical of the team's performance. And I mean, I don't think he had a bad game, but he didn't offer anything. You know, we're used to, as you say, bursting through, creating chances. There was just none of that last night at all.
Yeah,
There's not been any of that really since the Denmark game. I remember saying to you after the Denmark game, there's a lot of these guys, it looks as if they know this is their last chance to get to World Cup and they're out there to prove a point. We've not seen that since the Denmark
Yeah.
at all from any of them.
No, I agree with you. Agree. And there's, you're completely right, Craig. And then keeping on the players, and it's a different thing, completely different issue. But Gannon Doak is, he's our most exciting player, right? And we're all excited when he gets the ball on the wing and he goes past. His speed is amazing, right? And he goes past people and everything's brilliant. But I think he just needs a lot of coaching, because if you look when he gets past 1, 2, 3 players, whatever it is, it's rare that he then picks out the best ball, right? He shoots when he shouldn't shoot, or too many of his crosses end up just hitting the defender. And somehow I think he's not quite experienced enough, not quite had the coaching to think how to create the angles, right? With Adams or whoever's in the middle, so that there's an angle to cut it back properly to Adams for an easy chance. So Doak will get there, and we need to persevere with him. But I mean, one of the things I put out, because I think you might, we talked briefly, messaged last night briefly about what could change before the next games. And one of the things I'd think about is bringing Gannon Doak on as a substitute.
Yeah.
But not with 2 minutes to go.
Yes.
I'd bring him, I mean, no, but seriously, right? I'd bring him on at half time or after 60 minutes when the Greeks or the Danes are getting tired. And then say to Gannon Doak, have a real run at them. That's what I would do. But anyway, so Gannon Doak, he's a great player. He'll get there. Fantastic, potential for the future. But it's not, the end product's not quite there enough for the time.
There was a couple of really poor passes last night. I actually thought a couple of occasions as well. He'd done really well to get past a couple of players, and he just tried one more where he shouldn't have. He should have released the ball.
Yeah,
and there was a pass open. But also, I mean, can we talk about the right back situation? If he's not going to be fit, I thought it was quite interesting that Tierney came on there last night.
Yeah.
And replaced Ralston. Do you think he would think about starting the game with Tierney on the right? I think Strachan did it. I don't think Clark's done it yet, has he? I'm not sure if he has, but do you think that's something he might think about?
I think he might. Yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, but Tierney certainly did start in the past on the right for Scotland. I agree with you. It probably was Strachan. I don't remember. I think he may well do. Because I think he'd like to get Tierney in the team. We'd all like to get Tierney in the team because he's such a class player. But unless you go back to 5 at the back, because you mentioned this a few minutes ago in this discussion, unless we go back to 5 at the back there, and if he sticks with Robertson, which he will, then that's the obvious place to try Tierney. So I think he might well start with Tierney at the right back, because I mean, I thought Ralston did okay. But but he's not the same level as Tierney. That's obvious.
Definitely not.
We'd all like Hickey there, but I mean, on a positive note, I thought Hendry did well in the central defence. I thought Hendry was good.
I thought McKenna was good.
Yeah, agreed.
I like McKenna. Thought he did a good job in there. Lennon Miller looked okay when he came on. He played in a couple of different positions. I quite like the how flexible we are in midfield. There's a lot of different guys that can play a lot of different positions in there.
Yeah, but I mean, that's maybe we're kind of going into the substitutions, or maybe I can take us there. So, I mean, we often complain about how the substitutions are made late by Clark, right? I mean, yesterday we made 2 substitutions after 70 minutes, just 72 minutes. They're both defenders, and we're winning 1-0 in a game at that time, in a game that we think we should be winning by more than that. And we're all thinking he's going to go a 4-4-2, bring Lyndon Dykes on, etc. And he brings on 2 defenders. And then, to your point about Miller comes on in the 88th minute, which is the same time as Dykes. And then Bowie comes on in 91 minutes. And it's so late. It's just, it's so late. And I mean, I agree with you, Lennon Miller. It looked okay when he came on. But even with the extra time, so what was it? 8 minutes, was it? It was 8 minutes last. So okay, so we had 10 minutes, which is not nothing, but it's not a long time to really judge somebody. No. Not really.
Not at that stage of the game, when you're hanging on.
Yeah, I mean, when the game was so broken up by then and everything, and the last whatever it was, 3 or 4 minutes after they scored was basically just sort of hold on, as you say. Yeah. So,
what did you think about the reaction at the end? The booing, and it was a kind of mixture between booing and cheering, wasn't it? It was a kind of funny one.
But I think that's the two reactions. It's back to McGinn's tweet this afternoon. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, people were booing the Jobby performance,
Mhm.
right? And that's right. At the same time, people were pleased because we've got the 6 points. You know, and we all thought it was most likely Denmark would beat Greece, and that's what happened. And so lots of us were thinking, you know, we're in the playoffs now.
I remember it happened. It happened years ago when Craig Brown was manager. It was a match at Ibrox. I believe it was against Bosnia, and we'd got the result. It was a horrible performance, but we got the result that then put us into the playoffs. And the whole place started to boo. And Craig Brown said, "Why is everyone booing at that? We've got into playoffs. This is what we wanted to do." But that was when we ended up getting beaten by the English.
Yeah.
We ended up being no good.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very
Yeah.
similar. So I mean, we've got Greece next. Since March, we've been outplayed by Greece 3 times, and we've beaten them twice. I don't know how we've done it. Can he? Is he going to change anything before then? He's going to pick the same guys. What's he going to do? Can we expect to see him again? Are we going to get outplayed against Greece and try and get a point? I
And
don't know what to expect from this game.
I mean, I think that's the worry, isn't it? That it's hard to see what really changes. You know, so yes, we just need a point. Right?
Yeah,
It doesn't matter. I mean, unless something bizarre happens in the Denmark Belarus game, or if you want to argue that, you know, anyways, unless something bizarre happens, right, then we just need a point. And so, and it doesn't matter whether you get 1 or 3 points. Other than for ranking for ranking points for the
yeah,
playoffs. So I suppose I'm slightly wrong there. It would help us in the ranking points, which might be important for
yeah.
being in pot 2 in the playoffs, not point 3.
I
But
read that.
fundamentally, we need a point.
Yeah.
Is anything going to change? Not really. I mean, Clark might surprise us again and go with 4-4-2 again.
Would he?
Right?
If he's going in there needing a point, you think he's going to
Yeah.
go 4-4-2?
I agree, but that's what we thought against
That's
Denmark,
true,
right?
yeah.
And then we all thought he'll be playing it tight and everything. I mean, the good thing is that Christie and Ferguson should be back,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, Gilmour was disappointing last night as well. I thought it was okay. It wasn't the worst or anything, but he didn't look as good as he'd looked when he came on against Greece, and when we were all crying out for him to come on against Greece. And I thought to a large extent he changed the game against Greece, right? Gilmour was a bit disappointing yesterday, but I don't think that Kenny McLean helped him. I think Kenny McLean, I mean, you know from the past that I don't think Kenny McLean's of international standard now. I really don't. He still can do a job for us, but he's not really international class. And I think that Gilmour with Christie would be a much more convincing two in that. And then you've got McTominay and McGinn, who I'm sure will start. And then the question is it Ferguson or is it Doak?
Yeah.
But none of those are big changes. I mean, but he might surprise us and go 4-4-2 as we just said. And defense, I mean, maybe Tierney at the right, and otherwise, honestly, I think it'll be it'll be back to the trusted ones, right? It'll be Hanley and Suter.
Yeah, and Robertson in the left.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And so, and will he change and bring substitutes on earlier? I mean, I would. I don't see the point generally of bringing. I mean, there is some point, but most of the time, I wouldn't bring people on in the 91st minute or whatever, right? But that's what Clark does.
Yeah. It's funny that the way he treats subs, it really is. And I mean, even going back to the Euros, I was very critical of the way he used his subs in games especially in that Hungary game where we were needing a win, and he just didn't pick for the right players for me. Bringing on Lewis Morgan, and it was quite late as well. Anyway, so if we do get the point or we get something against the Greeks, that Denmark game's going to be something else, isn't it? At Hampden, that is just going to be, up and off to get to World Cup. It's going to be exceptional.
Yeah, agreed. And I mean, the Greek game, we all know it can work both ways, but the fact that Greece are out and basically got nothing to play for, you'd think that would help us. The other thing we've all seen it lots of times is they try a few young players who are really hungry and keen and all the rest, even younger than the players they have been playing, right? And they're really keen and really go for it and out to prove a point and all that. But fundamentally, it should help us that they're out, right? So who knows? Greece is a tough place to go. We won last time, but we were lucky to win last time. I think then you're right. It comes down to the Denmark game, and obviously, and you know, would you expect us to win? No, because
No.
Denmark are better. I don't know. I mean, I saw most of the Denmark Greece game last night. Not all of it, most of it. And Denmark were a lot better than than us. When you watch the way they were playing last night. Denmark were good. Apart from they had a
Belarus were
shaky.
much better than us. You sound as if you're surprised.
I know. But but we can beat them. We can.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, another positive thing I'd throw in is that I thought Adams was quite good last night. And lots of people have criticised him. And no, he wasn't perfect or anything, but he scored a goal, right? So he got us going with the first goal. I thought he ran quite well. He was available. He was making some runs that most of them didn't come off, but some did. He had the goal disallowed when Doak's cross. If Adams had got his timing fractionally better, he might well then have managed to both stay on side and not touch it with his hand, right? And I mean, I'd argue he should have got us a penalty, because I'd say the penalty that was that wasn't given after the long VAR check. I mean, they said Adams handled the ball. It's pretty tough to see him handling it, and if you can, it seems like it's the Belarus player who's kind of pushing his arm or hits his arm, and Adams' arm then goes in at the ball, right? I think the referee and the VAR people honestly didn't know what to do, because it's a really strange one anyway. You've got possibly Adams handles the ball, then the Belarus player on the ground may handle the ball, and then there's this weird thing where the Belarus player tries to head the ball through Adams's legs and ends up kind of knocking Adams over. I mean, I think it should have been a penalty, and so I'd say Adams, to go to my serious point, right? I think Adams played well last night, and and I thought he was okay against Iceland as well. Sorry, not Iceland. I'm sorry, against Greece, right, as well. So that's a positive thing, thinking ahead to the Denmark game.
I honestly reckon if you went through all the games, every single player in that squad that's come on at some point has had a good game.
Yeah.
In one of these. Although Scotland has been very unconvincing, each player has had a really good individual performance. Actually, maybe with the exception of Ferguson. I'm not the biggest Ferguson fan at the moment. But I think everyone's had it. I mean, Dykes was great when he came on the last time. McTominay, McGinn, Robertson were great in the very first game against Denmark. I think Hanley was great in that game as well. I think Apple had their time.
He was. No, you're right. Hanley was really good in the game.
Yeah.
I'd just say also, the fact that penalty wasn't given, right? The one I've just talked about for us with Adams last night, I think, to be honest, is why the Belarus goal that was disallowed, it was disallowed for the foul on McTominay, because it's very soft. Well, at the time, that happened right in front of us. We were in the middle of the North Stand, right? At the time, we didn't think it was a foul, but obviously it's tough to tell. But I've just seen the highlights, and it's pretty soft. Yeah. We'd be upset if our goal was disallowed because of that. And I think they just balanced it up, to be honest. I think the referee and VAR just balanced it up.
Yeah. When I came out of the stadium last night, the first thing I did was phone my brother and say, why was that penalty not given? And he said it was very, very, very soft. Like, I'm home and I've watched it 100 times. I watched it 100 times this morning. I still can't see a handball in there.
Yeah.
But I did look at their one. I've only watched it a couple of times. I can't see a foul there either. But yeah, I'm happy to let that one go.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So I think those are reasons to be optimistic, right?
Yeah.
That because your key question, if we go back to what you asked, of what might be different, what might change to give us hope for the performances to get results away to Greece and home to Denmark, right? Which are obviously tougher games than playing Belarus, right? I mean, there's not much that's going to change. But if you try and look for some things to build on, it is things like Adams was good, and Gilmour has been reasonable, bit disappointing last night, but reasonable in both games. And, I mean, and some of the others, you feel like McTominay's got to get better.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you have to. He's yeah. Well, they all do. They all do. We can't get through that again. But again, trying to be positive. When Clark went into the first double header, he would have said to them, "Let's try and get 4 points here," and they got the 4 points. He would have said, going into this double header, "Let's try and get 6 points," and he's got the 6 points. He's got everything he's asked them for, and you can presume that he's going to ask for 4 points from the next double header. It's just a matter of whether we can get it or not. One against the Greeks, and then obviously the three we need against the Danes.
Yeah.
It's going to be a hell of a game that I can't wait.
I agree. That's right. Yeah. Well, let's hope we get the 1 point and the point in Greece first
Yeah.
before we worry too much about the Denmark game. Let's avoid defeating Greece and keep it alive, because again, obviously anything can happen. But I mean, your fundamental point's right. Clark has delivered the points that we needed in the qualification group. So we're all dubious about Clark because, for all the reasons that we've talked about, we don't understand some of his selections, the substitutions, the lack of exciting performances a lot of the time. But at the same time, he's been getting the points.
Yeah. Right. Before we wrap up, I know we do like to talk about the culinary delights on offer at Hampden. And I unfortunately never tried that currywurst pie. I tried, but it was kept on selling out. So I went last night. I went to the kiosk while the national anthem was on, asked for a hot dog, but they were sold out. I mean, it's sold out during the national anthem. So I got myself I think it was called a chicken tender sub. And honestly, Dave, it was the worst thing I've ever had in my life. It was this piece of soggy bread with what looked like 3 chicken nuggets on it, right? £7.50. There was no meal on it, not even basic seasoning, right? Things about Yevig, right? It's just absolutely horrific. Don't touch it. I presume because you were feeling ill yesterday, did you have anything to eat at the ground?
No, I couldn't face it because I was in a bad way. You're right, at the game. My stomach had been bad for a day or so. But they had kebab pies there. Did you not try one of the kebab pies?
I didn't, but it was actually, when I asked for the hot dog, the guy said, look, do you want this chicken tender or something? I thought, that sounds really nice, actually. But yeah, it wasn't. Don't try it. It's a message to everyone that's watching this. Don't try it.
I think they should just sell a German currywurst, because we don't like that. That was good. That's the whole point. They don't need to try and make it into pie.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, that's another story. But right, I'll avoid those subs in future then.
Yeah, I'll try the kebab pie for the next
let us know what it's like.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's desperate to know. Right, anything else before we wrap up, Dave? Want to cover anything?
No, I just think I'm looking. Obviously, I'm looking forward to going back to Athens. Athens was good fun. Good fun in March. Can't wait to go back there now. I hope that all of us, fans as well as the players, don't just start focusing on the Denmark game, but realize that Greece is a tough place to go, and we have to get a point. There's no point in losing to Greece and then beating Denmark. I mean, other than for the point, for the ranking points, but there's no point otherwise. We need to get at least a point in Greece, and then go for what will hopefully be an unbelievable night at Hampden against Denmark.
That'll be great. I can't wait. If we get the point, that's going to be fantastic.
Aye. Let's finish on that positive note rather than, being too depressed about everything.
Excellent. Right. Well, thank you very much for joining as usual, Dave. See you soon, buddy.
Good. Okay. Cheers. Bye.
Okay, just before we finish the show, we've got another £20 ball bag voucher to hand out. On this occasion, it's Mike Bannerman72 who's won the voucher. Mike was engaging with us on our YouTube channel, left some great comments on there. It was great to hear from him. If you'd like to win a £20 ball bags voucher, we'll be handing one out after the Denmark game. All you need to do is like and subscribe to any of our channels, leave a comment on any of our socials, just engage with us on our socials, and as I say, we'll be picking someone at random after the Denmark game. We will be back in November once Steve Clarkson announces his squad for the Greece and Denmark double-header. Looking forward to that one. Right, until then, take care, everyone. Come on, Scotland!
We know we ain't no football experts, but we all feel the same about the beautiful game. The game, no Scotland, no party.